My connection with Immaculata began when I entered its doors as a student. Later, I returned as a grey sister to teach English, history, and geography. This satisfying career in the classroom was followed by a second role as librarian at Immaculata. From my years in the library at Immaculata, two events, or rather series of events, stand out. The first is the day that we moved the library from its location on the third floor in the regular old building to its new quarters at 585 Lisker Street. All the students formed a long line extending from the library door down the stairs for 2 flights, over through the link, and then up the stairs to the main door of the library. Library helpers were stationed in the library. They received the books as they came. Other library helpers in the original library picked the books off the shelf in their proper order and handed them to the students as they filed by. And so there was a regular kind of a book brigade, not a bucket brigade, which managed to group all the library components in a matter of about an hour or so. Everyone seemed to have had a good time.
My years at Immaculata as a student, 1947 to 1949, and as a teacher, 1954 to 63, and in the 70s, were full and rewarding. I saw the development of so many students as they came to recognize their gifts and to prepare for their future. After having back surgery, I left teaching and have devoted myself to pastoral care in both Ottawa and Pembroke. My rich experiences at Immaculata have never been forgotten.
I feel as if I am part of the ancient history of Immaculata as it celebrates its 90th year. I came to Immaculata as Sister Mary Sheila when there was an explosion of students in both grades 9 and 10. Formerly grade 9 was offered in the parish schools. The school board built an addition on Immaculata with a new library and a number of new classrooms. I was assigned to teach typing with manual typewriters and phys ed to all these newcomers. Some used these skills in university courses, even in journalism classes. Later, I taught special commercial to prepare students for work. From the very beginning, Immaculata girls became Pembroke Grey Sisters, became teachers, nurses, and in turn became principals and community leaders. Now, even in our retirement years, we learn that some Immaculata students prepare for a missionary experience in the Dominican Republic and are known as the Dream Team. Sister Catherine O'Shea, who oversees the program, has us keep in touch with a pen pal from this group, and they visit us in Pembroke to share their stories.
I do thank God for the happy memories of my life at Immaculata High School, first as a student and then as a teacher of special commercial. I send congratulations on this memorable occasion, and may the future continue to bless all the students and teachers at Immaculata High School.
Although I started piano lessons at Immaculata when I was 9 years old, I enrolled as a grade 10 student when I was 13. My elementary school experience had been very negative, but Immaculata was positively wonderful for me. The best thing about it was that I could be a critical thinker and not get shot down, thanks to a great staff. As a teacher, I learned so much from my students, especially the ones who had a hard life. At the end of my first year, having heard some of their sad stories, I wrote a letter to my parents to thank them for the wonderful home I had experienced. To say that I loved teaching English literature would be an understatement. I fell in love with English literature in grade 9 when circumstances required that I attend an all-boys school, and Mr. Vince Kelly opened the world of literature to me. I never looked back, and the teachers at Immaculata widened my horizons. I always tried to help my students to love and enjoy English literature as much as I did, and to come to know the God of literature. I deeply appreciated not only the students, but also the staff at Immaculata. It was a community of love and caring, which left me with cherished memories and deep gratitude.
Because this is the 90th anniversary of Immaculata High School, such a wonderful celebration, I would like to say hello, to give my warmest greetings to the students of Immaculata, past and present. I look back on my Immaculata days, and I think how wonderful it is, the influence of Immaculata on so many girls over the years, and then later so many men, so many boys. And I think there should be great joy in celebrating all of this anniversary, and I wish everyone very well.
In 1953, I was a student at Immaculata High School. At this time, only Grey Sisters taught here, and only girls attended. Unlike those of you who attend Immaculata today, we wore a navy blue jumper and a white blouse. But like you, these uniforms had to be neat, tidy, and the right length. Through the influence of these women of faith and great teachers, I entered the Grey Sisters in 1956. And in 1959, I began my teaching career at Holy Rosary School in Ottawa. And after teaching elementary school for 14 years, I came to teach at Mac. My first week at Immaculata, teaching grade 9 and 10 religion classes, terrified me, as I had only taught little people. But I learned that grade 9 students were like my grade 1s, as high school was brand new to them as it was to me. So their behavior was excellent. Grade 10s, feeling a little more at home, were like my grade 2s. They became braver, and therefore they were more vocal and challenging. Teaching at Immaculata was a great gift to me. First, it forced me to study the scriptures so I could share the good news with my students. The good questions you asked always challenged me to find the answers. Every year, the MAC students from the student council and the staff would go to the science farm for a weekend. Sleeping on the floor amidst the students at night allowed me not only to get to know the students, but allowed them to ask deep questions about their life. It was also fun watching Sister Anna Claire, the then principal, cooking hamburgers for us. Each week, we would gather in the auditorium for Mass. Our students actively prepared for the liturgy by singing in the choir, or doing the readings, or praying the responses. School dances were a big event, and these dances were held in the gym. The gym had a door which opened out onto the parking lot, so a teacher had to stand at the door to prevent unwelcome guests from coming in. When it was my turn to be at this door, 2 grade 10 students, boys, always stood with me. I will never forget them, for I never knew who or what would try to get in. It was pitch dark outside, and I did not know the area very well. Although life at Mac was busy, I learned a lot from my students and still appreciate all they have given me. In 1994, I retired from Immaculata, but because of the skills you, my students, taught me, I was able to continue my career at St. Paul's University and the Diocese of Pembroke. So all I can say is thank you, thank you, thank you. I know today you, the former and present students at MAC, have continued our tradition and will bring many graces to the world.
In 1949, I entered the Grace Sisters of the Immaculate Conception community and took the name Mary of Perpetual Help. Later, I returned to my baptismal name, Mary Mulligan. My first assignment in 1951 was to Immaculata High School, where I taught in 3 grade 9s. And now at this point, I'd like to congratulate the teachers and the students of Immaculata High School for 90 years of service. Congratulations.
Greetings, everyone. My name is Anne O'Brien, Sister Anne O'Brien, and I'm a graduate of the class of 1959. I realize that makes me a stranger to most of you, but others will recall that I've worn a number of Immaculata hats since my student days. The first one was in the fall of 1962, when I became the first, and that year only, lay member of the staff. I remember stopping one of the grade 9 girls that fall, who always looked dreadfully unhappy. So I asked her what the trouble was. She told me, there are 2 kinds of people I don't like, nuns and girls. Well, that meant she had a problem, since there were 45 to 50 sisters and maybe, well, there were over 900 girls at MAC in those days. So there wasn't a lot I could do for her. The next fall of 1963, I entered the community. And after novitiate, I returned to Immaculata on 3 different occasions, wearing 3 different hats: homeroom teacher, vice principal, and principal. Those were wonderful experiences with such great memories. So to all of you, whether you know me or are seeing me on this video for the first time, I pray every blessing as you celebrate together the 90th anniversary of Immaculata.
Hello, my name is Ann Taylor, Sister Mary Susan to some of my early students. I'd just like to share a little bit about the way my life has been colored by my years at Immaculata. As a student, I met the Grey Sisters for the first time and found myself feeling at home with them. I met new friends, had fun, and was motivated to take my studies seriously. An all-girls high school in the 1950s was a great place to find within oneself and to develop leadership skills. And there was plenty of scope for that at Immaculata. A few years later, I returned as a Grey Sister and a teacher. I really enjoyed these years of teaching and learning from my students and my teaching colleagues. Working with the Student Council, I had the opportunity to encourage their creativity and to help them sort out what ideas might fly with the principal and what ones might not. I'm truly sorry to be missing the reunion. I'll be in Toronto that weekend at a conference. But know that I'm with you in spirit as you share memories and walk the halls of the new building and the old. Thank you.
I was first a student at Immaculata and much later a teacher for 1 year and much later a principal. The latter position is quite interesting as to how I became the principal. I was studying religious education in California in the 1980s with the hope of returning and being in that position. However, a phone call early in the morning, 5:20 local time, changed all that. My superiors were requesting that I become the principal of Immaculata. My answer immediately was no. However, I was asked to pray about it and to think about it, as I did. And one morning in the shower, it came to me that God was asking me to really perform in this new position. And so I packed my bags and my new certificate in religious education and set for home, 211 Bronson Avenue. My 5 years there were very challenging and it's filled with happy memories. I feel blessed to have had this wonderful experience.
Hello everybody. Congratulations on your 90th Jubilee. My name is Sister Elaine Rayom, known then as Sister Mary Elaine. I recall my teaching years at Immaculata as a young nun from 1956 to 1959 and from 1962 to 1963. I was privileged to teach music with many of our Grey Sisters. So happy celebration and blessings to each one of you.
Hello, I'm Sister Connie Gillette. When I taught at Immaculata High School from 63 to 67, you might have known me as Sister Mary Cornelia. When I arrived at Immaculata, I was amazed by the size of that chapel auditorium that I had heard about. I remember hearing how Sister Mary Christine had this dream of building a chapel auditorium. I had come from a little school. So one day when I opened the door and peeked in, I could not believe what I was seeing. And I can remember vividly, as if it were just yesterday, bringing my 9D class of about 30-ish, I guess, into the chapel auditorium, going up to the balcony and looking out over this vast array of girls in front of the altar where the Mass was going to be said in a few minutes, and just being amazed that that place held 900 girls. Now, it was not only the chapel part of that space that really appealed to me, but the auditorium. You know why? I had been in many plays throughout elementary school and high school, and so far as a nun, I hadn't been able to be involved in drama. But when Sister Mary Christine approached me and asked me if I would help Vera McCloy with the annual play production, I was just thrilled. I remember how each year the homerooms collected money during Advent. The kids were happy to bring their 10 cents, 5 cents, whatever. And I know that my homeroom put that money towards a Christmas dinner for a needy family in the area. And it was about 3 days after Christmas one of those years when one of the older sisters came to me and said, "Sister Mary Cornelia, have you seen this letter to the editor?" And I looked at the letter and I couldn't believe what I was reading. It said, "Thank you, Sister Mary Cornelia, Christmas Angel." This was in the Ottawa paper. "And your class of 9D. You provided a most welcome dinner for us." I think that was a year that the man wasn't able to do that. So that stayed in my mind. And I'm so happy to see all the wonderful things that Immaculata High School is still doing, promoting all those social justice causes and following in the footsteps of Marguerite Duville. I will be joining the students again in that dream team as they go to the pilgrimage to Marguerite's birthplace. And so I think my time is up, but I just want to say I thank God for Immaculata High School, the way it has grown, and I'm so happy that we're celebrating her 90th anniversary at this time. Blessings on all of you wonderful people.
So my name is Sister Bonnie Zentner. I'm a graduate of Immaculata High School, and so was my mother a graduate. She passed away 3 years ago at the age of 92. It was there that I felt my first call to religious life. However, after graduation, I went to Teachers College, and then I taught at St. Anthony's School in Ottawa for a year. I then entered the Grey Sisters. After completing my novitiate, I taught at Immaculata for 3 years, from 1993 to 1995. I taught sewing in the Home Economics Department. Congratulations on 90 years of educating the youth of this world. I wish you many blessings on your present work and your future endeavors. A lot of students have walked these halls and made a real difference in the world. I like to think that I am one of them.
As we celebrate 90 years of Immaculata, I look back fondly on my days, first as a student of piano and then in the high school. The Grey Sisters were wonderful models for me, especially Sister Lucille Martin, who was my teacher and then mentor as I began my teaching career. I had a great love of science, and I saw it as a revelation of the wonders of God's creation, and I desired to share this with my students, and they in turn sustained me in my enthusiasm for teaching. I spent 25 years in the lab. My positive attitude toward teaching was evident when at the end of June of my first year, I lamented the fact that I would have to wait 2 whole months before classes resumed. My enthusiasm was tempered somewhat as time went by, but the difficulties were made easier by the delights which also occurred, and this kept me going. One rewarding aspect was the organization of science fairs. It was very rewarding to see the development of a spirit of inquiry and analytical thinking, especially in the young women. After my official retirement from teaching, I continued, but not in Canada, instead in the Dominican Republic, where I have been involved for part of 21 years. In doing so, I certainly have left my comfort zone and had to learn a new language and culture. I found that the Dominicans, although materially poor, have been rich in their spirit of resilience and their deep faith. It has been a privilege to work also with the Immaculata students, members of the Dream Team, who come to the Dominican Republic to experience firsthand life in the developing world. While they come to give, before long they realize that they are also recipients. Teaching and learning have been a lifelong journey for me, and I am filled with gratitude to the Grace Sisters in particular, and also to my former students. A privilege also involves responsibility. Let us, all of us, inspire others as we join hands to build a more just and peaceful world. Congratulations to all at Immaculata.
Sister Anna Clare first came to Immaculata in the 1950s as a student. This sojourn was followed later by dedicated service there as teacher and principal. She has been a woman of exemplary leadership, vision, and deep faith. During her tenure as principal, several significant events transpired. Two most notable ones involved the celebration in 1978 of Immaculata's 50th anniversary. That same year marked another momentous occurrence, the arrival of boys to Immaculata, thus making the school co-ed. With her indomitable spirit, Sister Anna Clare faced the inevitable changes which ensued with enthusiasm and determination. I believe that this quotation by Marian Wright Edelman describes well the commitment of Sister Anna Clare to Catholic education. Education is improving the lives of others and leaving your community and the world better than you found it.